Hi guys, so in today's video I'm painting up these Orc war bikers, and this is another commission which is pretty cool. And as you can see, I've gone for like a Mad Max style with these. Plus I've also used something that I've never really used before, and that's pigments. So it's like a dry sort of powder to do the bases, and obviously to make them look more like the bikes are with the terrain, because obviously the bikes get a bit of this pigment on them too. So stick around and see how obviously I've got on with the pigments. So one of the only requirements really for these bikes was the chap wanted them to look very metallic looking, which is why I primed them in a silver. So rather than priming them black and then going over and painting them silver and all the rest of it, I primed these straight away in silver. This is from the Colour Forge. They also do a full range of colours, which is pretty awesome. And this is obviously the bases that I've got for these. I will show you a little bit later on in the video how I got the bases to this stage. And then obviously after that, you'll be able to see me mess about with some pigments. And I have to admit, I think I'm going to be using pigments in a lot of bases, which is really pretty cool. So yeah, so they painted like a metallic colour, but now I want to add a few little bits and pieces. Basically, I want to add some sort of copper. But before I do that, I painted the Orcs white because I'm going to be using speed paints over them. And I think using speed paints over the silver, yeah, it'll make these Orcs look like they're, well, silver. So I just gave them a quick little prime with, with the paints there. And now I say I'm ready to crack on and do some copper bits. So say these bikes are primarily going to be just sort of steel and copper. There's not really going to be a lot of colour in these. I say definitely Mad Max is my thinking for this sort of style of war bikers. I'll have to admit, I think if I did make my own army up, because I've never played Warhammer 40k, I've only done the kill team, which I really enjoy. But if I ever did a Warhammer sort of orc band, I think yeah, I think Mad Max would be the style I'd go for, just because well, I used to love the Mad Max films when I was a lot younger, and even the more recent sort of Mad Max films. So there we go. Yeah, plenty of copper, plenty of steel, a few extra bits I painted in white that I know I'm going to be doing sort of this speed paints over. So that should come across really well. But I really want to make these obviously look very weathered, very beaten, and yeah, a bit dirty, grimy. So that's why I've got two washes I've made up. I've got a good old black wash here and a sepia wash. And these are just some sort of like ink sort of paints mixed with water and then a little bit of washing up liquid, which is why, as you can see, these are a little bit foamy. But that's because I've given them a good old shake. Yeah, I need to put the washing up liquid in there because apparently that breaks up the tension. And if you didn't put that in, then when you try and paint it, the water would just sort of sit on top of the item and not blend in and not obviously go into all the nooks and crannies. So as you can see, yeah, I've gone over everything, even the orcs. Because again, my thinking here is, even though obviously they are going to be sort of white or white-ish, I want them to look a little bit darker. Again, I want the orcs to look a little bit more weathered, battered, and just generally grimier than the other orcs that I painted. Because again, these guys are going around on these bikes, so there's going to be a lot of sort of dirt, dust, and fumes, obviously from the bike that's in front of them. So that's why I've kind of gone over them as well. I had considered doing some dry brushing white here, but then I thought, no, I quite like the idea that these are, I say, going to look obviously a whole lot darker. So I think there's three greens that I absolutely love using for the orcs, and this Gilly Dew is definitely one of my favourites. And yeah, speed paints obviously very easy to use, do all the hard work for you. It certainly gives some great results if you're just after sort of say the tabletop ready. So I say this in every video, but it's just to make sure everyone's fully aware. I'm not a pro painter by any means. I don't pretend to be a pro painter. I never will be a pro painter. I am definitely your tabletop ready sort of level, even though that could still be quite low or high. I'm not too sure. Anyway, without waffling there. But yeah, so I am just an average painter, let's say, but certainly someone who enjoys the painting. Obviously, when I can get the camera in focus, it would help. But again, I do this as a hobby, even though I've been doing this full time now for about the last 3 years. It's been full time. Yeah, this is still a hobby for me. I have fun. Obviously, still why I don't script any videos. I literally just sort of have fun painting. So yeah, sometimes I do forget the camera's there. And yeah, you will get shots where, well, it's not in focus or it's halfway off the screen. So yeah, the style of these, when I do orcs, I like to do their trousers in the blue. So I like to give them sort of make them look like they're wearing jeans. And then orange is one of my favourite colours. So that's kind of why typically I will do their tops in an orange. And that's the thing I love about orcs. Obviously, they don't take themselves seriously. You can go nuts on the colours, unless obviously you're following a specific sort of group of orcs and you're trying to keep them a certain colour. But otherwise, you can add splashes of bold colours to orcs, just because they are fun. They're not trying to hide in bushes or trees, whatever, although there might be. So yeah, you can go wild with the colour scheme, which is awesome. But obviously, I painted a set of orc boys for the guy that's commissioned me to do these. So I'm doing these in a similar sort of style, just so they all tie in. So with this orc, for some reason I didn't realise he had a helmet on, so I painted the whole of his head green. It was only after I did that that I realised, oh yeah, he has got a helmet on, and obviously went over it with silver. Only a few other little colours here and there. So red for some gloves, and then the brown for the boots, and basically any kind of like buckles, belts, straps, harnesses, that sort of thing. But yeah, they are pretty much done, which is pretty cool. Didn't take too long at all. And one of the last things I've started doing more of now, and that's their mouths. So I add a little bit of pink to their lips, but I also do it for the whole of the sort of interior of the mouth, just to give it that bit of a different sort of fleshy sort of look to their skin. But then obviously still go over and do their teeth. It's not kind of white. I think it's an off-white I kind of use for their teeth, just because, well, I'm sure these guys don't clean their teeth. So teeth and claws, yeah, it's kind of like an off-white. Before we get there, is me jumping the gun. So this is why I don't script the videos. Uh, I would just sort of prefer to wing it and waffle it. So yeah, lots of these sort of teethy, spiky bits, just going with them, say again, the off-white, just on the very tips. Try and feather it in, just to make it look like these things are the dirtier at the ends and then cleaner at the, well, other end. Yeah, maybe I should script some of these things, or even just have bullet points. Although, in my defence, hay fever in the UK at the moment, we are having a crazy hot spell. It's brought on my hay fever, so yeah, my head is a little bit bunged up. That's my excuse, and yeah, I'm sticking to it. So yeah, say just doing the teeth, kind of like an off-white, and their little nails. But yeah, love how these have come out. So they're definitely nice and dirty, grimy. But again, this is like the first time I'm using these pigments. And yeah, really pleased with how I've used them. Obviously, guys, any comments or help, tips, tricks on how I should really use the pigments, let me know, because obviously I've just sort of made it up as I've gone along. So the bases, again, I'm trying to do more and more with bases, especially because now I'm doing obviously some custom work, whereas before all the bases that I ever used were clear bases, because I used to like having the clear bases on miniatures, just so you can see the terrain underneath. But obviously most people, well, they do a sort of basing to them. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And yeah, I'm definitely experimenting more and getting more bits and pieces like this. So I've got some bark there, some crushed up cork, and then some fine sand, just to give it again that sort of terrain look of a post-apocalyptic sort of world is kind of what I'm going for. Excuse my fingers there. Obviously, I do work on several projects at a time, so I was recently painting something else. I gotta say, I really genuinely love this hobby, which is why I am painting every day. Generally have, say, several projects on the go at once, because then I can paint something or glue something or do something, let it sort of dry, cure, whatever, and then I go and work on something else, just because I like to be busy and say I do enjoy what I'm doing. So these things are fully glued up. Say start with the big bits, then do some small fine cork, and then finally to finish everything, yeah, I've got this fine sand. So what I will say is when you do get sand or even stones, rather than buying the little miniature basing ones, I think they cost about £5, £8 for a small little tub. Your best bet is to get the stones that are used in fish tanks, because you get a huge big bag, about £5, £8. So yeah, gluing these on. I've obviously glued it on, let it dry, but I want to make sure there's plenty of glue there, just so this thing doesn't come off when you do sort of move it. So I then add, well, quite a lot more glue around the bottom. It doesn't matter that you can obviously see this glue when this does dry, because obviously I haven't done the pigment stuff as yet. So yeah, I'm definitely putting on plenty of glue just to make sure there's plenty of contact with the base. The last thing you want to do is pick up the miniature, move it around, and it keep coming off. So that's why I give it a little shake there to sort of show what I've done. So get my messy board back because I hate my desk getting messy. So this obviously helps. And then I've got several different pigments. I'm going to use two for this one. Again, I want to say this is kind of like in the sort of a desert terrain-y area with mountains and bits and pieces. So that's why I've gone for two different kind of colours here. I've watched a few videos of people using this. No one ever seems to put any glue down first. They literally just put the pigment on the miniature, the floor, the base, whatever. Yes, again, guys, let me know if I am doing this wrong because I don't know. Today is the first time I've done this. But yeah, I just put it on this. Obviously, try and push it into all the nooks and crannies. But with this, I really did enjoy putting on the actual bike itself. Really, because it does sort of tie the bike into the base then. And it looks like, obviously, as the wheels have gone round on the bike, it's picked up a load of dust and debris and whatever. And the bike is obviously covered in it. So yeah, using the two different colours, they kind of like blend in well together, which is pretty cool. And again, definitely going over loads of the bike, or the underneath and the bottom parts of the bike, just to sort of tie them all in. So once I did do all this, I did then go over with a matte varnish, just to obviously say tie it all in, and sort of encase it, I guess is the word I'm thinking of. I'm not too sure, but basically just so all this stuff doesn't come off. Because the last thing you want is picking these up and your hands just getting dusty and dirty. So again, guys, let me know if that is what you're meant to do with these pigments. So I watched a few videos, but none of them seem to sort of go on to say what they do at the very end. So yeah, I have gone over with a matte varnish, but I've done it from a very big height, just so it doesn't sort of blow off all the pigment stuff. And there we go. Absolutely love how these have come out. They definitely Mad Max style. Pigments, yeah, I'm going to be using these quite a lot. So maybe I need to watch a few more videos to see exactly what I'm meant to be doing with them. But yeah, love how these have come out. Say, guys, I'm available now to do commissions. Check out my eBay store, link down below, because there's a lot of stuff I'm painting. Basically, it's my pile of opportunity. I'm kind of getting through it now because I am getting back into painting orcs and well Warhammer bits and pieces in general. And also we've got Armageddon coming soon. So there's going to be a lot more orc stuff coming up. So check out those range of videos. So these are all obviously beginner-friendly videos on, well, painting your first Warhammer miniatures. Okay, like, share, subscribe, leave comments. Bye.